Last night, she was scared for her life. Today, she made the man who hurt her watch her choose someone else. But what happens when revenge starts working and your heart starts getting involved? Follow the story continuation of Rain and Hunseo as we dive into episode 6. This is Whispers of Korea.
Hunseo closes the door behind him and engages every lock: the deadbolt, the chain, the security latch. The multiple clicking sounds feel like a fortress being sealed against invasion. I sink onto the bed, my whole body shaking with adrenaline and emotional overload. My heart is hammering like I just ran a sprint, and I'm struggling to process everything that just happened. The kiss. Seeing Hunseo's face instead of Richard's. The way it felt to finally stand up to him, to slap him and watch him crumble. The fear when he forced his way in, mixed with the relief when Hunseo appeared. And underneath it all, a terrible awareness that part of me, some stupid, masochistic part, still responds to Richard's pain. Still wants to comfort him even after everything he's done. I hate that part of myself. Hunseo comes over and sits beside me on the bed, the mattress dipping under his weight. "Are you okay?" Instead of answering, I push him away when he tries to reach for me. The reaction surprises us both, but I can't help it. I'm too raw, too angry at myself for still caring. "Where were you?" The words come out sharper than I intended, but I'm beyond caring about tone. "You left me completely alone here. I was terrified when he forced his way in, and you were nowhere to be found." My voice starts to rise despite my attempts to control it. "I needed you tonight, and you just disappeared. What could possibly have been so important that it couldn't wait until morning?" Hunseo's expression softens with something that looks like genuine remorse. He reaches for me again, more slowly this time, and I let him pull me into his arms. "My Anhee," he says quietly against my hair. "You're right. I shouldn't have left you alone after everything that happened tonight. I'll never do that again." His arms are warm and solid around me, and gradually my heart rate starts to slow. "What was so urgent?" I ask. "Family," he says simply. "There was an emergency situation I had to help resolve." Family. The word makes me pause. I've been so wrapped up in our fake relationship and my revenge plans that I sometimes forget Hunseo has a whole life outside this resort. People who depend on him. People who probably don't even know I exist. "Is everything okay?" I ask, genuinely concerned now. "It is now," he says, stroking my hair. "But I should have explained instead of just leaving. That wasn't fair to you." I tilt my head back to look at him, studying the strong line of his jaw and the way the lamplight catches in his eyes. I was really scared when Richard showed up. He seemed desperate, like he might do something crazy. "I'm really sorry I wasn't here," he repeats. Then he kisses me, and this kiss is nothing like Richard's desperate attempt earlier. This is soft and questioning, like he's asking permission with every gentle movement of his lips. I melt into him completely, my hands fisting in his shirt as I kiss him back with everything I have. When his tongue slides against mine, I make a sound that's half sigh, half moan. We break apart, breathing hard, staring at each other like we're seeing each other clearly for the first time. "I should let you sleep," he says, but he doesn't move away from me. "Stay," I whisper. "I want you beside me." "I have work to finish," he says reluctantly. "But I'll be right here. I won't leave the room again, I promise." I nod. But his actions just confirmed what I was thinking. There was something else going on. "What kind of work keeps you up this late?" "Boring stuff," he says with a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. "A document I need to send to someone. Different time zones." Something about his answer feels rehearsed, but I don't press him about it. Instead, I slip under the covers, watching as he settles at the small desk with his laptop. The blue glow of the screen casts shadows across his face as he works, and there's something almost secretive about the way he angles it away from me. But the soft clicking of keys and his steady presence make me feel content. I don't know why. "Hunseo." I call softly. "Yeah, Gamalo." "For everything." He looks over at me, and his smile is warm and genuine. Get some sleep, Rain. Tomorrow we're going to show everyone what we're made of. I close my eyes, listening to the quiet sounds of him working. When I wake up, morning sunlight is streaming through the curtains and Hunseo is already dressed in workout clothes, looking like he stepped off the cover of a fitness magazine. How do you do it? I ask, sitting up and running my hands through my tangled hair. I went to bed before you, but you're already up and looking perfect. Do you even sleep? He laughs, coming over to sit on the edge of the bed. I told you, I don't need much sleep. But I ordered breakfast. It should be here soon. What time is it? Early. The games don't start for a few hours, but I thought we could use the extra time to strategize. I stretch, feeling surprisingly well-rested despite everything that happened last night. Annyeong, I tell him, meaning it. Good morning to you too. As I'm getting ready, there's a knock at the door. Room service arrives with what looks like a breakfast spread for royalty. Fresh fruit, pastries, eggs, coffee that smells heavenly. You know, I say as I pour myself orange juice, you really know how to enjoy yourself. Hunseo pauses with his coffee cup halfway to his lips. I believe in making the most of special occasions. Is that what this is? A special occasion? Every day with you feels special. The answer should sound cheesy, but the way he says it, quiet and sincere, makes my heart flutter instead. After breakfast, we head to the venue for today's games. The resort has transformed part of their grounds into a proper athletic stadium, complete with a running track, bleachers, and professional-looking equipment. Wow! I breathe, taking in the scope of it. They really don't do anything halfway here. We arrive early enough to get good seats and scope out the competition. The morning air is crisp and energizing, and I'm feeling genuinely confident about our chances. The MC, an energetic woman with a wireless headset and the kind of enthusiasm that probably requires medication to maintain, bounds onto the track. Good morning, competitors and spectators. Welcome to day 2 of the Seoul couple games. The crowd cheers, and I find myself getting caught up in the excitement despite myself. Today's challenge is racing, she continues. We'll start with couple racing, men and women with their feet tied together. Then we'll have individual men's races. Your combined scores will determine today's winners. I'm practically vibrating with excitement. This is perfect. I can actually do this. Racing I can handle. I ran track in high school before I had to quit and get a job to help support my family. And Hunseo and I have been practicing coordination. Granted, it was more for salsa dancing, but the principles are the same. I'm excited, I tell Hunseo, squeezing his arm. We're going to destroy the competition. That's when I see them, Richard and Sora, walking onto the field like they own the place. After everything that happened last night, the video evidence, the spokesperson's punishment, Richard's emotional breakdown in my room, I'm genuinely shocked they are still participating as a couple. When Richard's eyes meet mine across the stadium, I scoff and deliberately turn away. Why am I even surprised? I mutter. Those two have no shame. But then an idea starts forming in my strategically devious brain. Richard is clearly still messed up from last night. He's probably distracted, emotional, not thinking clearly. His confidence is shattered. His relationship with Sora is strained. What if I could make it even worse? As we get called down to the staging area where couples are discussing strategy, I move closer to Hunseo and slip my arms around him in a hug that's definitely more intimate than necessary for a public sporting event. Hunseo looks surprised by the sudden display of affection. There are a lot of people watching, he murmurs, glancing around at the other contestants and the crowd in the bleachers. Cameras, phones. This will probably end up online. From the corner of my eye, I can see that Richard has stopped talking to Sora entirely and is staring at us with an expression that could melt steel. Excellent. It doesn't matter, I say, loud enough for nearby couples to hear clearly. You're my fiancé. You're the only one who matters to me. Then I kiss him. What starts as a calculated move to mess with Richard's head quickly becomes something else entirely. The moment our lips meet, strategy flies out the window. Hunseo's arms go around my waist, pulling me closer, and I forget that we're supposed to be performing. I forget that people are watching and recording. I forget everything except the way he tastes like coffee and mint, and the way his hands feel warm and sure against my back. Are we going to start or not? Richard's voice booms across the staging area, loud enough to make several couples stop their conversations and stare. Some of us came here to compete, not to watch people make out like teenagers. I know he's talking directly to me, trying to embarrass me in front of everyone. But instead of pulling away, I smile against Hunseo's lips and kiss him deeper, letting my hands tangle in his hair. Let Richard watch. The sound of an air horn finally breaks us apart, signaling that it's time for the games to begin officially. I turn toward the starting line with a smile that probably looks more predatory than it should, my lips still tingling from Hunseo's kiss. Ready to show them how it's done? I ask. Hunseo's eyes are still a little dazed from our public display, but he nods with growing confidence. With you? I'm ready for anything. I look across the track at Richard and Sora, who are busy not looking at each other, and my smile widens. Game on indeed. The crew members descend on us like surgical technicians, armed with heavy-duty Velcro bands and the kind of serious expressions usually reserved for handling explosives. I watch as they bind the contestants to their partners with practiced efficiency. One crew member, a wiry man who looks like he moonlights as a personal trainer, approaches Hunseo and me with what looks like professional restraint gear. Right leg to left leg, right arm to left arm, he announces like he's reading from a manual. My right leg gets secured to Hunseo's left with a thick band that's surprisingly comfortable despite looking like medieval torture equipment. Then my right arm is bound to Hunseo's left arm with similar gear, creating a human three-legged race on steroids. This feels very committed. I tell Hunseo as the crew member checks our bindings. Good thing I like you. He laughs, testing the range of motion. At least we practiced coordination. I look around at the other couples getting bound up like packages and nearly snort with laughter. Some of them look uncomfortable, others determined, and a few, like the couple in matching neon green outfits, look like they're about to throw up. Then I see Richard and Sora getting their bindings checked, and my amusement turns sharp and predatory. NATO, I murmur, watching as the crew member has to adjust their leg binding twice because they can't seem to figure out which leg goes where. I hold out my hand to Hunseo, and he takes it without hesitation, our fingers interlocking naturally. The simple gesture sends a warm flutter through my chest that has nothing to do with race strategy and everything to do with how right his hand feels in mine. When I glance briefly in Richard's direction, I notice his eyes are laser-focused on our intertwined hands. The look on his face could melt steel. I roll my eyes theatrically and turn my attention back to the track. The MC's voice booms over the stadium speakers. Contestants, take your positions at the starting line. We shuffle forward in our awkward bound formations, and I can't help but think we look like a line of penguins trying to walk upright. The starting line is clearly marked with bright yellow paint, and electronic timing sensors are positioned overhead. On your mark, the MC calls. My heart starts hammering with genuine excitement. This is it. Get set. Hunseo and I automatically sync our breathing, both of us settling into starting position. We've got this. We practiced. We're coordinated. Go! The air horn blares, and we're off. The first few steps are crucial in any bound race. If you don't find your rhythm immediately, you're done. Hunseo and I hit our stride perfectly, our bound legs moving in perfect synchronization like we've been doing this for years instead of hours. We surge forward, passing two couples. The crowd is already cheering, a wall of sound that makes my blood sing with adrenaline. That's it. I shout to Hunseo over the noise. Keep that rhythm. We're in first place initially, eating up the track with smooth, coordinated strides. The couple next to us, a pair of athletic-looking 30-somethings, are keeping pace, but we've got a slight edge. That's when I catch a glimpse of something magnificent in my peripheral vision. Richard and Sora are eating dirt. Literally. They hit the ground not 10 seconds after the starting horn, a tangle of limbs and recriminations that makes my heart sing with joy. Sora's screech of frustration is audible even over the crowd noise. I turn my head to get a better look, and the sight is even more beautiful than I imagined. Richard is trying to pull Sora up while she's gesticulating wildly, probably blaming him for their spectacular failure. They're dead last, and it's not even close. Focus, Hunseo says. Eyes on the track. I am focused, I pant back. Focused on how amazing that was. We've dropped to second place while I was rubbernecking, but I'm not even bothered. Watching Richard and Sora crash and burn is worth more than any first-place finish. The couple in matching athletic gear has taken the lead, their synchronization impressive even by competitive standards. The woman looks like she might be a professional trainer, all lean muscle and focused determination. Can we catch them? I ask Hunseo as we pound down the back straight. We can try, he says, and I feel him shift our pace slightly. How are your legs holding up? Better than theirs, I say, jerking my head toward where Richard and Sora are still struggling to find any kind of rhythm. They're moving like newborn giraffes, trying to figure out how legs work. The audience is going wild, cheering, screaming encouragement, waving foam fingers and handmade signs. I spot some of my new friends in the bleachers jumping up and down and shouting my name. As we round the final turn, Hunseo leans closer to me. We need to increase our pace. When we hit the finish line, let's jump together. Jump? I look at him like he just suggested we attempt flight. Trust me, he says. On 3. 1, 2. We leap forward in perfect unison, just as we cross the finish line, our bound legs touching the electronic timing mat a split second before our bodies sail over it and crash to the track in a heap of tangled limbs and victory. The crowd erupts. Still lying on the ground, breathing hard and probably looking like I just survived a natural disaster, I turn to stare at Hunseo. We're both grinning like idiots and panting for breath. Did we win? I gasp. Photo finish, he says, pushing himself up on his elbow to look at the scoreboard. But I think. First place, the MC announces. By mere inches, our winners are Team BDNA, with Team MATNED taking a very close second. I am so excited that we came in first. When I look up toward the back of the pack, I see Richard and Sora still jogging toward the finish line, looking exhausted and defeated. I almost burst out laughing but managed to contain it to a satisfied smirk. The crew members come over to unbind us, their practiced hands working quickly to free our arms and legs. The relief of being able to move independently again is immediate and wonderful. Energy station is over there, one of them says, pointing to a set of tables loaded with sports drinks, energy bars, and what looks like professional-grade recovery supplements. I grab a bottle of something called Peak Electrolyte Complex that tastes like liquid lightning and makes my eyes water. Hunseo chooses a more conservative-looking sports drink and downs half of it in one go. Not bad for amateurs, says the woman from the second-place team, coming over to our rest area. You two have good natural synchronization. Thanks, I say, trying not to sound too pleased with myself. You were incredible out there. 10 years of couples racing, she says with a grin. This is our vacation hobby. Wow, we beat professionals. How amazing is that? We find seats with the other contestants to wait for the official results. The atmosphere is surprisingly friendly considering we're technically competing against each other. People are sharing energy bars and comparing notes on technique. When the final results are announced, confirming our first-place finish, I jump up and scream like I just won the Olympics. First place! I yell, throwing my arms around Hunseo. We got first place. Hunseo's reaction is more subdued. A smile and what looks like genuine satisfaction, but none of my manic celebration energy. But when he sees how excited I am, his reserve cracks, and he hugs me back with real enthusiasm. I keep glancing over at Richard and Sora, who are sitting by themselves looking like they just attended their own funeral. Richard catches me looking and glares with an expression that could strip paint. I roll my eyes and look away. The MC's voice booms again. Contestants, please return to the staging area for our second event of the day, the men's individual distance race. This is where things get interesting. As we walk back to the track area, I turn to Hunseo with genuine concern. If you're tired and can't do it, you can sit this one out. Look, I point to several couples where the men are already opting out. Some of the guys have decided not to run. I touch his arm gently. Even if you don't participate, we'll still keep our first place standing. The men's race is more for individual points that might help us later in the overall competition, but it's not decisive for today. Hunseo shakes his head immediately. I'm not doing anything that would let you down. The quiet certainty in his voice makes my chest tight with emotion. I'm going to do my best to win this, he says, and there's something in his expression, a flash of competitive fire I haven't seen before. I smile, touched by his determination. Even if you don't win, you'll still be a champion to me. I stand on my tiptoes and kiss his cheek, tasting salt and determination. The men line up at the starting line, and I have to admit the view is not terrible. Hunseo in running shorts and a moisture-wicking shirt is definitely easy on the eyes, but Richard looks equally athletic, which annoys me on principle. For laps around the stadium, the MC announces. That's approximately 1,600 meters. This is a distance race, gentlemen. Pace yourselves. The starting horn sounds, and they're off. Hunseo starts with a smart jogging pace while I position myself behind the safety barrier, ready to be the most enthusiastic cheerleader in stadium history. Go Hunseo! I scream, clapping and jumping. You've got this. The runners settle into their paces quickly. This isn't a sprint, it's strategy and endurance. Richard had taken an early lead, which irritates me beyond reason, but Hunseo is running smart, staying in the pack and conserving energy. That's my fiancé. I yell when Hunseo passes a cluster of runners on the first turn. Several people around me are laughing at my enthusiasm, but I don't care. By the second lap, the field starts to spread out. The serious runners are pulling ahead, while others are already showing signs of fatigue. Richard is still in the top 5, which makes me grind my teeth. Then Hunseo makes his move. On the back straight of the third lap, I watch him shift gears and start passing people. His form is beautiful, smooth, efficient, like he was born to run. Yes, I scream when he passes Richard, who looks shocked at being overtaken. Eat his dust, Richard. My new friends have joined me at the barrier, and we're all screaming encouragement. The energy is infectious. Even people who don't know us are cheering for Hunseo now. Fourth lap. I yell as the runners round the final turn. Final lap, Hunseo. Go, go, go. This is where distance races are won or lost. Who has something left in the tank? Who can find that final gear when their body is screaming for mercy? Hunseo finds another level. I watch in amazement as he kicks into a sprint that makes my heart race. He passes 2 more runners and is suddenly in a dead heat for first place with a man who looks like he moonlights as a marathon runner. Come on! I'm screaming so loud my throat is raw. You've got this. They're neck and neck down the home straight, both giving everything they have. The finish line is coming up fast, and I can see Hunseo dig deeper than I thought possible. The marathon man edges him out by mere inches. But Hunseo finishes second, and Richard finishes fourth. I'm so proud I could burst into tears. I rush onto the track and throw myself into Hunseo's arms, not caring that he's sweaty and breathing hard. He catches me and spins me around, laughing. You were incredible. I tell him, loud enough for Richard and Sora to hear clearly. You're amazing. You're a real athlete. You're my hero. Hunseo just smiles and stares at me with an expression I can't quite read. There's something almost tender about it. You're dying from excitement, he teases. I'm worried it might make you sick. Impossible, I declare. Happiness like this can't make anyone sick. It's medically impossible. The official results confirm Hunseo's second-place finish, which I celebrate like he just won Olympic gold. I make sure to gush about his performance loud enough for everyone to hear, especially the part about him being a real man and everything I could want in a partner. Richard's jaw gets tighter with every compliment. After a brief rest period, the MC calls for the third and final event of the day. Contestants, Our final challenge is the couple's kissing contest. I assumed we'd be allowed to return to our rooms to freshen up between events, but apparently not. The rules state clearly that no contestants can leave the stadium until all games are completed. This is probably designed to weed people out, I tell Hunseo, gesturing at our collective state of post-athletic dishevelment. Everyone's sweaty and gross now. Who wants to kiss in front of cameras when they look like they just survived boot camp? But that's exactly why I want to do it. Because while everyone else is self-conscious about their appearance, I'm feeling invincible from our racing success. Are you willing to do the kissing contest? I ask Hunseo. He sighs and runs a hand through his damp hair. As long as you want to, we can do it. Of course I want to, I tell him. We're on a roll. Let's keep winning. We're among the first couples to volunteer, which seems to inspire others to join. Soon we have about 12 couples signed up for the contest. That's when Richard materializes beside me like a bad rash. I need to talk to you. Again, I don't even try to hide my exasperation. Don't you have your own problems to worry about? Like why you came in fourth? Rain. I spot Hunseo talking intensely with Declan in the corner. Whatever they're discussing looks serious, and I make a mental note to ask about it later. Just listen to me for 1 second, Richard says, stepping in front of me with genuine desperation. Don't do this kissing contest. I actually laugh. Who do you think you are? You want to tell me not to kiss my own fiancé? You're going to regret this, he says, and there's something almost panicked in his voice. This will be filmed, posted everywhere. You never know who might see it. When you get your memory back, you'll wish you could undo it. His face is flushed from the race and from whatever internal struggle he's having. Please, Rain. I'm begging you. Don't do something you can't take back. I stare at him for a long moment, letting him think I might actually consider his pathetic plea. Then I lift my hand and give him the most eloquent dismissal I can manage. If that's not clear enough, then kindly leave me alone. Richard's face cycles through several interesting colors before he storms away, muttering something that sounds like stubborn and impossible. I'm heading toward Hunseo when someone grabs my arm. Seriously, Richard. I spin around to find Sora. I jerk free like she's made of poison. Did you learn anything from last night? Oh right, there's no pool to push me into here. But instead of her usual snide comeback, Sora just stares at me with calculating eyes. There's something different about her expression, less anger, more assessment. You didn't lose your memory, did you? She says quietly. I've been watching you. Your reactions, your speech patterns, the way you move. You remember everything. I keep my expression neutral. What do you think? I think, she says, stepping closer. You've been playing us all from the beginning. I could deny it. I could keep up the charade, play the confused victim a little longer. But looking at Sora's smug face, thinking about all the years she spent stealing my life piece by piece, something in me snaps. My lips curve into a smile that has nothing sweet about it. Jangun, I say quietly. The color drains from Sora's face. So you admit it. You've been faking this entire time. Admit it. I laugh, and it's not a nice sound. Honey, I'm celebrating it. I turn to leave, but she grabs me again, her nails digging into my arm. How can you be so manipulative? Her voice rises with genuine outrage. How can you toy with everyone's emotions like this? Make everyone think you lost your memory when you didn't? You're sick. That's when the last of my restraint evaporates completely. I whirl around to face her, and the fury that's been building for so long finally finds its target. You want to talk to me about manipulation? My voice is deadly quiet, which somehow makes it more threatening than screaming. You want to lecture me about toying with people's emotions? I step closer, backing her toward the wall. Look in the mirror, Sora. Who exactly caused the situation we're in today? Think about it carefully. Maybe if you hadn't set your sights on someone else's fiancé, my fiancé, things wouldn't have gotten to this point. My voice starts to rise despite my efforts to control it. You, of all people, have no right to point a finger at me or judge me. Yes, my memory is intact. Yes, I've been playing a role. What are you going to do about it? Richard will dump your sorry self when he finds out you're lying to him. Lying. I interrupt, my voice cracking like a whip. You want to talk about lying? You and Richard have been having an affair behind my back for years. Years, Sora. While I was working 3 jobs to pay his bills, you were warming his bed. People around us are starting to stare, but I'm past caring about audiences. Didn't you come to my apartment before I came here? Didn't you throw it in my face that you and Richard were together and were going to have so much fun without me? Tears of rage sting my eyes, but I push through them. You made it crystal clear that you and Richard deserve each other, didn't you? I laugh bitterly. And now you're worried that Richard will be upset that I'm deceiving him? Run along to Richard and tell him whatever you want. I couldn't care less what that cheating man thinks about anything. What about Hunseo? Sora presses, desperation creeping into her voice. He'll leave when he discovers you've been lying to him this whole time. He feels sorry for you. He thinks you've lost your memory and need protection. When the truth comes out, you know what? I interrupt, my smile returning but sharper now. Why don't you do me a huge favor and tell everyone the truth right now? Please. I'm begging you. I want the truth to come out. Sora's confidence falters. Let's see who everyone will point a finger at. I continue conversationally, but my voice carries steel underneath. The backstabbing cousin who stole her family member's fiancé, then tried to drown her in a swimming pool. Or the innocent victim who had no choice but to do whatever it took to survive your games. I tap my chin thoughtfully. And let's not forget about you stealing my position at Seoul International. The role I was actually qualified for. Yes, Sora. If I decide to speak up, I can expose you with the snap of my fingers, and this whole career you've built on lies and manipulation will disappear. Her face goes pale. But here's the beautiful part, I continue, leaning closer so only she can hear. I don't need to destroy you. You're going to do it yourself. Because that's what people like you always do. You get greedy, you overreach, and you collapse under the weight of your own ambition. I step back, my voice returning to normal volume. So here's my advice, Rio. Run along and play with your stolen boyfriend. Try to win some races. Enjoy the kissing contest with a man who's likely thinking about someone else the entire time he's touching you. I turn on my heel, then pause and look back over my shoulder. Because when this retreat is over, when all the games are finished and the cameras stop rolling, you'll still be the same pathetic person who had to steal someone else's entire life just to feel important for 5 minutes. I walk away, leaving Sora standing there with her mouth hanging open and her face flushed with humiliation. As I approach Hunseo, who's finished his conversation with Declan and is looking around for me with concern, I feel a rush of power unlike anything I've ever experienced. For the first time since arriving at this resort, hell, for the first time in years, I'm not just surviving someone else's attack or defending myself from their schemes. I'm winning. Completely, utterly, devastatingly winning. And it feels absolutely incredible. Ready for that kissing contest? I ask Hunseo, slipping my hand into his and giving him my brightest smile. He looks down at me, and something in his expression suggests he might have overheard at least part of my conversation with Sora. I hope it's just my imagination. But instead of questions or judgment, his smile is warm and maybe even a little proud. With you, he says. I'm ready for anything. I glance back once and see Sora still standing where I left her, looking like she just got hit by a truck. Let the games continue.
Guys, at this point, this is no longer just about winning games or proving a point. You can see it clearly. Richard is reacting emotionally. Sora is getting desperate, but Hunseo is making choices, and the dangerous part is, Rain is no longer just pretending. She's starting to feel something real, and that changes everything for the game. Let's continue the story.
Last night feels like a lifetime ago, but the weight of what happened still sits heavy in my chest as I watch Rain celebrate our victories on the track. The text message had come at the worst possible time. But some things can't wait, and my nephew's surgery was one of them. My sister Eun-jin is my twin, though she insists on calling herself my elder sister. because she arrived 3 minutes before me. We've always been close, but her son Jaehyun has become one of the most important people in my world. When Eunjin told me about the kidney stone surgery, when Jaehyun asked if I'd be there with him even though I couldn't physically be present, there was no question I'd find a way. That's why I'd left Rain, found a quiet spot with good reception, and connected to the hospital's video system. For 2 hours, I watched my nephew's surgery on my phone screen, my heart hammering every time the monitors beeped or the surgeons paused to consult. When it was over, successful, thank God, Eunjin was crying with relief, and I had to swallow my own emotions before promising to call them both in the morning. The last thing I expected when I returned was to find Richard in our room, forcing himself on Rain. Initially, rage flooded through me so intensely I almost lost control. But then I watched Rain handle it, and everything changed. She was magnificent, sharp, strategic, completely in command of the situation. Nothing like the helpless woman with memory loss that Richard clearly still believed her to be. Because I know the truth. I've known since I found those torn diary pages that Rain's been playing everyone from the beginning. And watching her dismantle Richard's pathetic attempts at manipulation only confirmed what I'd suspected. She's brilliant, and she's been protecting herself the only way she could. Richard doesn't deserve her. Hell, I'm not sure I do either, but at least I see her for who she really is. After Richard left, I was emotionally drained from the surgery stress and the confrontation. I didn't want Rain to think I was rejecting her after what happened. So I made excuses about work calls and pretended to be busy on my laptop. But I was watching her. The way she moved around the room, the unconscious grace in her gestures, the way she occasionally glanced over at me when she thought I wasn't looking. Even knowing she was performing the memory loss, I was struck by how natural she seemed, how comfortable in her own skin. When she finally fell asleep, I allowed myself to really look at her. The curve of her cheek against the pillow, the way her hair fanned out across the white cotton, the peaceful expression that replaced the strategic mask she wore during the day. I'm falling for her, hard. And the fact that her memory is intact only makes it better. It means when she responds to me, when she kisses me, when she looks at me like I matter, it's really her making those choices. Now, watching her put Sora in her place after the races, I feel a surge of pride that has nothing to do with strategy and everything to do with seeing the woman I care about refuse to be victimized anymore. But when the MC calls for the kissing contest, my stomach drops. If I had my way, I'd politely decline and suggest we head back to our room to celebrate our victories privately. But I gave Rain my word that I'd help her win these games, and I can see the determination in her eyes. I know this contest is designed to weed out participants. Who wants to be intimate on camera when you're sweaty and exhausted from athletic competition? But Rain and I are among the first to volunteer, and soon other couples follow our lead. The staging area has been transformed while we were competing. Part of the stadium now looks like an upscale lounge, complete with dim lighting, ambient music, and strategically placed cameras that somehow manage to feel less intrusive than obvious. The setup is both more and less intimate than I expected. Individual chairs have been arranged in a semicircle, each positioned to give couples privacy while allowing the judges to monitor the competition. The rules are simple, the MC announces, and I already know I'm not going to like this. Each couple will share one chair. You may position yourselves however you're comfortable, but once the competition begins, your lips must remain in contact with your partner's body for 1 full hour. My eyes widen. 1 hour? Your lips may touch any part of your partner's body, she continues, but contact must be maintained at all times. If judges observe any break in contact, you'll be disqualified immediately. I turn to Rain. This is ridiculous. I murmur under my breath. She grins at me. It's supposed to be. They want people to quit. 3 couples immediately forfeit, leaving 9 still in the competition. The abandoned chairs are removed, and suddenly the atmosphere becomes more intimate, more serious. Contestants, take your positions. I settle into our assigned chair, and Rain doesn't hesitate. She climbs onto my lap, her thighs bracketing mine, her body warm and pliant against me. Her arms circle my neck, and for a moment we just look at each other. This close, I can see the light in her eyes, can smell the faint vanilla scent of her skin beneath the lingering saltiness from our exertion. Her breathing is slightly elevated, whether from the races or from anticipation, I can't tell. Ready? She whispers. Are you? Instead of answering, she leans forward and presses her lips to mine. The starting signal sounds, but I barely hear it. Rain's mouth is soft and warm, and when she parts her lips slightly, I taste the sweetness of the sports drink she had earlier mixed with something that's purely her. The first few minutes are gentle exploration. Soft kisses, the brush of lips, the careful mapping of each other's mouths. But as time passes, the artificial nature of the competition fades away, and something real takes its place. Rain shifts in my lap, her fingers tangling in my hair, and I forget about the cameras, the judges, the other couples around us. When she nips gently at my lower lip, my hands find her waist, pulling her closer. 10 minutes elapsed, the MC calls, and I'm startled by how quickly time has passed. Rain breaks our kiss to trail her lips along my jaw, finding the sensitive spot just below my ear that makes my breath catch. Her mouth is warm against my skin, and my lips are positioned against her hair. My eyes close as she explores the column of my throat. Her lips are like fire against my pulse point, and I have to grip the sides of the chair to keep from doing something that would get us both disqualified. 15 minutes. She's working her way back up to my mouth now, pressing soft kisses along my jawline. When our lips meet again, the kiss is deeper, hungrier. My hands slide up her back, feeling the warmth of her skin through the thin fabric of her shirt. The world narrows to just this. Rain's mouth on mine, her body pressed against me, the soft sounds she makes when I kiss her just right. I'm dimly aware of movement around us as other couples shift positions or whisper to each other. But it feels distant, unimportant. 20 minutes. Rain pulls back just enough to look at me, her lips on the back of my palm and mine on hers. Her pupils are dilated, her lips swollen from kissing. There's something in her expression that makes my heart race. Not the strategic mask or the performance for others, but something raw. She moves closer and kisses the side of my lips while I do the same with hers. You okay? She breathes against my lips. Instead of answering, I capture her mouth again, this time taking control of the kiss. She melts against me, her soft sound vibrating against my lips. My hands find the hem of her shirt, fingers barely slipping underneath to touch the bare skin of her lower back. She arches into the touch, and I have to remind myself where we are, what we're doing, why stopping isn't an option right now. 30 minutes. Halfway point. The MC's voice feels like an intrusion, but it also serves as a reminder of what this is supposed to be. A competition, not foreplay. But when Rain shifts in my lap again, when I feel the evidence of how this is affecting me and know she can feel it too, the line between performance and reality blurs completely. She's kissing me like she means it, like this isn't just strategy or game playing, but something she actually wants. And God help me, I want it too. My lips trail down her throat, tasting the salt on her skin, feeling the rapid flutter of her pulse beneath my mouth. She tilts her head back, giving me access, her fingers gripping my shoulders like anchors, her lips against my palm. 40 minutes. We're past the point of strategy now. This is pure instinct, pure desire. When Rain's lips find mine again, the kiss is desperate, consuming. I can taste her need, can feel it in the way she presses closer, in the soft gasps she makes when I kiss her just right. Around us, I'm vaguely aware that some couples have been disqualified, careless breaks in contact, whispered conversations that lasted too long. But Rain and I move together like we're choreographed, like we've been doing this for years instead of days. 50 minutes. 10 minutes remaining. Rain breaks away from my mouth to press her lips to the pulse point at my throat, and the sensation makes me grip her waist tighter. Her thumb is directly on my lips. She's driving me crazy, and from the way she's breathing, the way she's moving against me, I think I'm having the same effect on her. When she works her way back to my mouth, our kisses become more urgent, more demanding. There's nothing gentle about it now. It's all heat and hunger and the desperate need to be closer than our current position allows. 55 minutes. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes of having her in my lap, of her mouth on mine, of pretending this is just a game when it feels like everything. She's kissing me like she's drowning and I'm air, like she never wants to stop, like this means something to her too. And maybe that's just wishful thinking, maybe she's just that good at playing her role, but I can't bring myself to care. 58 minutes. 2 minutes. I can do this for 2 more minutes without completely losing control. I can keep my hands where they are, can resist the urge to slide them higher, can pretend this is all for show. But when Rain pulls back to look at me, our lips once again resting on our palms, when I see the genuine desire in her eyes, when she whispers my name, I know I'm lost. 59 minutes. 1 minute remaining. She presses her forehead against mine. Both of us breathing hard. Both of us staring into each other's eyes like we're trying to memorize this moment. Hunseo, she whispers, and there's something vulnerable in her voice, something that makes my chest tight. NATO, I whisper back, because I do know. I can see it in her eyes, can feel it in the way she's looking at me. Time! The ending signal sounds, and suddenly the stadium erupts in cheers and applause. Rain and I don't move for a moment, still staring at each other, still processing what just happened. Then reality crashes back in. Cameras, judges, other couples, and audience. We're still in public, still competing, still playing roles. But as Rain slides off my lap and we stand to acknowledge the crowd, as the MC announces that 5 couples successfully completed the hour, I can't shake the feeling that something fundamental just shifted between us. We hold hands as we make our way off the stage, and I'm hyper-aware of every point of contact. Her palm against mine, her fingers intertwined with mine, the way she stays close to my side as we navigate through the crowd. That was, she starts to say as we head toward our room. Intense, I finish. She nods, and I catch her glancing at me with an expression I can't quite read. We're almost to our door when I hear my name being called. Hunseo. Hold on a second. I turn to see Declan jogging toward us, his expression urgent. Go ahead, I tell Rain, squeezing her hand. I'll be right behind you. She nods and continues toward our room while I wait for Declan to catch up. How's your nephew? He asks quietly, and I'm reminded why he's been my closest friend and head of security for so many years. Surgery went perfectly. Jaehyun's going to be fine. Jinja? I was so worried. I almost forgot to ask. About Rain. His expression shifts into something more knowing. You guys seem to have real chemistry and it's obvious she likes you. You're enjoying this way more than I expected, Hunseo. You're even doing things the Hunseo I know would never have been caught doing in the past. She's something else, he says with a grin. I like her. Yeah, I say, and I can hear the emotion in my own voice. Me too. We talk for a few more minutes about logistics, schedule changes, security concerns, the usual business that follows me everywhere. When we finish, I'm eager to get back to Rain. But as I'm turning to leave, another voice stops me. Hunseo. I turn to find Sora approaching, her expression calculating. Congratulations on being among the winners of today's events, she says sweetly. Unfortunately, I can't congratulate you back. Seeing that you lost, I reply evenly. Her smile falters slightly. There's something you need to hear. That's why I'm here. She pulls out her phone and plays an audio recording. I recognize Rain's voice immediately, and Sora's responding. It's their confrontation from earlier, where Rain admits to faking her memory loss. Did you hear all of that? Sora asks triumphantly. Rain is playing you. She never lost her memory. She's lying to you, deceiving both you and Richard. I scoff. You think I would believe this AI-generated audio? What? Sora looks genuinely confused. What are you talking about? You can clearly hear that's Rain's voice and my voice. We were arguing not long ago. Come on, Hunseo. She's playing you. I say coldly. You and Richard have tried everything possible to ruin what Rain and I have, but you haven't succeeded. Now you're resorting to these pathetic tricks. I step closer, letting my voice carry all the authority I usually keep hidden. Don't come in front of me with this garbage again. I won't take kindly to anyone trying to smear Rain's name. I turn to leave, but Sora grabs my arm. Are you so besotted with her that you can't see the truth in front of you? That's when I lose the last of my patience. I snatch her phone from her hands and drop it to the ground, crushing it under my heel. Leave me alone, I say, then turn and walk away. I hear Sora calling after me, but I don't bother to respond. As I get closer to our room, my anger begins to subside. Rain is waiting for me, and the last thing I want is for her to worry or suspect that I know more than I'm letting on. I take a deep breath, compose myself, and unlock the door. Rain is standing by the bed, wrapped in a towel, her hair loose around her shoulders. She's clearly just finished getting undressed, preparing for a shower. I was about to go shower, she says, then walks closer to the bathroom door. Would you like to join me? My heart stops, then starts beating double time. I stare at her for a long moment, taking in the sight of her. The curve of her lips, her warm skin, the towel that barely covers her, the invitation in her eyes that's nothing like the strategic masks she wears for others. My lips curve into a smile I can't suppress. There's no way in hell I'm saying no to such an invitation.
There's something people don't talk about when it comes to revenge. It gives you power. It gives you control. It even gives you satisfaction. But it also puts you in a position where you might hurt the one person who never hurt you. And sometimes the biggest mistake isn't trusting the wrong person. It's realizing too late that the right one was never part of your plan. You have seen how the story played out. I need you to drop your thoughts in the comments concerning this episode. And if you felt that final moment between Rain and Hunseo, don't forget to like and subscribe, because the next episode, that's where consequences begin. See you in our next video.